looking back, I think it's safe to say that I spent 90% of my childhood watching episodes of SpongeBob. And I don't regret a second of it.
The lid.
SpongeBob is like the cartoon of mine and many other people's generations. It feels like you could always make a SpongeBob reference, and a young person will respond with an, "Ah, I see what you did there.
I love you."
Now say what you will about modern SpongeBob, but there's no denying that the early seasons of the show were insanely charming and crazy popular. Which naturally meant, of course, video games. Are they any good? Well, find your controllers and firmly grasp it.
Firmly grasp it!
As we check out some SpongeBob games. Let's start off with the first ever SpongeBob game, released on the Game Boy Color, SpongeBob SquarePants: Legend of the Lost Spatula. And hey, look at that! The title screen has a fun Game Boy remix of the SpongeBob theme. Nice touch. Welcome to Bikini Bottom! Thank you. So SpongeBob is wandering around and discovers this old statue of a caveman standing on a stove, you know, as you do. So SpongeBob assumes Mr. Krabs would know what this statue is. So he rushes to the Krusty Krab to tell this crustaceous cheapskate about his discovery, and yeah, it turns out he knows all about it. The statue marks the entrance to the underworld. Although SpongeBob doesn't look too concerned. Yeah, he's seen worse. Remember this scene?
Okay, it's on my foot.
However, in the underworld, you can also find the golden spatula that Mr. Krabs says is worth a lot of money.
Hello, I like money.
So it's our job to go on this fetch quest and find it. Oh boy, can't wait. Press up to talk to friends. Hi, Squidward. Oh, it's you. Well, that seems about right. So as I mentioned earlier, this game is just a really big fetch quest, traveling all over Bikini Bottom and talking to people in order to gain items and whatnot. Talk to Pearl and get an item, speak to Mermaid Man for information, talk to this guy and sell him chocolate! Chocolate! All that good stuff. Traveling around Bikini Bottom is really fun, getting to see all the sights and buildings from the show. Apart from that though, the game is kinda bland. You're going to spend a lot of time talking to everyone for information, remembering that information, and platforming through levels, which would be fine if the jumping wasn't so stiff and awkward. And since that's about 90% of the game, it becomes an issue. But hey, it's not about winning, it's about having fun. F is for friends who do stuff together. U is for you and me. N is for anywhere and anytime at all.
Down here in the deep blue sea.
But this game's not fun either. It's kind of repetitive and simple, which does make sense. The game came out in 2001, meaning the show was only 2 years old, so the only people who were gonna play this were kids. It's not like today where you could release a SpongeBob game and 20-year-old me is gonna be like, wow, I need that! As a kid though, I could never beat it because I'm a barnacle head. It was hard! Speaking of hard, here's SpongeBob When You Die. Now that's just inappropriate. Now here's a game I can't believe I'm going to talk about. It's on Leapster. Yeah, you know, that game console for 4 to 10-year-olds. Yeah, that sounds about right. So here's SpongeBob Saves the Day. I already fear for my life.
Another beautiful day at Bikini Bottom.
It's an educational game, of course. The story is about this trash boat that pollutes the ocean. A refrigerator accidentally falls in, and the residents of Bikini Bottom flock to it, thinking there's a new restaurant in town. What are you, dumb?
I'm ruined!
And this worries Mr. Krabs greatly. But before we continue, let's just look at this. Less than 2 minutes into the game, and kids have been taught that when trash falls into the ocean, the fish like it. Maybe not the best lesson to start with. Apart from that though, I gotta say, the animation and voiceover work is really well done and solid. It feels like you're actually playing an episode of the show. I mean, for a 4-year-old, of course, which was the demographic. Anyway, Mr. Krabs calls you up saying he's got some brand new ideas to win back the customers' hearts. The first idea is a claw game, which coincidentally is our first game/challenge.
Wow! That's spongy. What is it?
It's a claw game, SpongeBob! You can't tell me you've never seen one before! Also, please never refer to anything as spongy ever again.
SpongeBob wants to use coins worth 10 cents each. Which hand should he pick?
So, which hand has 10 cents in it? This is too much pressure. So yeah, again, the game is meant for kids. Basic counting and math. Yeah, I can do it! 10 dimes makes $1, right?
SpongeBob wants to use coins worth 25 cents.
Sorry, I just thought of something funnier than 24. Just 25. So yeah, that's pretty much the game. Look at numbers and count. You do get to play the claw game to give the illusion of fun gameplay, but you don't have to be accurate at all. The next game has SpongeBob and Patrick making Krabby Patties on a conveyor belt. So, I guess the second lesson of the game is that fast food is never fresh. Always frozen. The gameplay itself is a Frogger clone. You need to collect certain ingredients and Patrick jumps around grabbing them. Pretty simple.
You're the boss of the secret sauce.
That was creepy. The next game is a music game. Pick an instrument and go crazy. You got bongos, drums, xylophones, but where's the mayonnaise?
Mayonnaise is not an instrument.
What? Well, what about...
Horseradish is not an instrument either.
I hate this game and its lies. Oh, but now it's time for the good stuff. SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom. To be blunt, this game is absolutely amazing. At one point in my life, this game was my favorite game of all time. More than Mario, more than Pokemon, Battle for Bikini Bottom was my life. So the story of this game is that Plankton has created a robot making machine in hopes to take over the world, and most importantly, get the Krabby Patty secret formula. Unfortunately, the robots malfunction, and Judgment Day is slowly but surely coming upon Bikini Bottom. Cut to SpongeBob and Patrick playing with toys.
Another perfect day playing robots and racehorses.
And just like that, SpongeBob realizes he has to save the day. So the game starts off in SpongeBob's house, which for any fan of the show is a real treat. Like, wow, we actually get to explore the full layout of SpongeBob's home. We've always seen bits and pieces throughout the show, but never how they're connected. The home also acts as a tutorial, teaching you the basics of the game. So there's a lot of incentive to want to explore the house. Once you finish the tutorial, you're rewarded with a golden spatula.
Here we go!
Cool. So we exit the home and that wonderful French narrator shows up.
There's nothing like the sounds of your own neighborhood.
And whoa, what's this? We have options? Yeah, in this game, we explore all of Bikini Bottom. It's such a treat. However, right now, we only have access to Jellyfish Fields. That's fine, let's go!
The rolling green hills of Jellyfish Fields. A place to experience nature at its most raw.
This makes me so happy. The game is an action-adventure platformer. Now, there's plenty of those games that exist, even in the early 2000s. So, what makes this game so special? Well, personally, I believe it's because it's one of the best and last collectathon games done right. Yeah, we can compare this game to Super Mario 64. We have access to many worlds and stages, and within those stages, there will be multiple missions to gain golden spatulas. In order to access the other stages, you need a certain amount of spatulas. These range from anywhere from helping out Squidward, Mrs. Puff, Bubble Buddy, or whoever else happens to be in the stage. I mean, look at the first level. It's very comparable to Bob-omb Battlefield. We have a fairly laid-back, open field stage with bright visuals and upbeat music. We then have to scale a mountain to fight a giant boss. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Heck, there's even these slide stages where you go down a hill and do some sick moves to collect items. SpongeBob controls perfectly. His jumps are accurate, his attacks are solid, and you always feel like you're in complete control. He also has loads of inventive bubble attacks that eventually become necessary to beat the game. However, if you get bored of playing as SpongeBob, you can play as other characters. Yeah, how cool is that? You can take control of Patrick, whose gameplay revolves around strength and power. He can pick up barrels and hit people with his belly, and he feels just as solid as SpongeBob. And lastly, there's Sandy. Again, she's just as good, but she has this lasso, and she can helicopter with it, making platforming much easier. She reminds me of Dixie Kong.
Well, how they?
Honestly, this game is every SpongeBob fan's dream, and genuinely feels like you're playing an episode of the show. SpongeBob has been on the air for just about 20 years, and doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. This means that so many people have grown up watching the show, and this game is perfect for the fan that's been watching since the beginning, or a young child who's just now getting into the cartoon. There's just something about SpongeBob that's so alluring. He has an upbeat attitude despite working a terrible job with an awful boss, having people constantly hate on him, and not having his driver's license. But despite all that, he manages to keep that smile and still find joy in life through bubble blowing and jellyfishing. It's kind of inspiring, actually, to just shut off the outside world and its negativity, throw up a smile, and enjoy yourself. So thank you, SpongeBob, for everything.